Are you ready to see what May has in store for you? Grab your tarot journals and let's figure that out. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you haven't met me yet, I am Leesa. I'm a certified tarot consultant whose goal is to help you leverage the power of the tarot to gain insights into yourself, navigate your life, and help make your life amazing. And on this channel, I do pick a card readings, meditations, tarotscopes, and just tarot videos in general. So if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do so. Make sure you're not going to miss next month's reading or the next tarotscope that comes up, and make sure that you are here for all those upcoming talks and whatnot. So if you haven't grabbed your tarot journal, make sure that you go ahead and do that. We're going to jump right into it. We're going to take a look at the month of May. Goodness, and that's going all over the place. So guys, you can see I have picked, I have some flowers here. The theme for this month is all about things that are coming into bloom or maybe are passing away from being in bloom. And that's where we're going to look at. I'm not sure about where you live, but where I live in the central mid-Atlantic region of the United States, everything is in bloom right now. April into May is just a gorgeous time of year. So I wanted to pick some things that sort of spoke to that. So we are going to take a look at that. While I'm getting set up, take the next minute or so to get yourself into a really fuzzy headspace. In just a minute, I'm going to ask for you to go ahead and choose a card, and I need you to make sure that you are tapping into your intuition. Make sure you're getting the right reading for that. And like I said, we're going to take a look at this concept of the month of May and what energies are coming towards you during this month. We're going to look at what's kind of leading from last month into this month, and we're going to consider kind of some of those things that you can expect moving ahead. And I'm wearing this today, guys. I will include a link, but my friend Brittany from the Witch's Altar made this really cute bracelet, and I just wanted to show it off. Look, it even has a little tarot charm on there. So I'll include a link to her Instagram so you can check out some of her stuff. She's got some beautiful jewelry and some other really cool things there. So if you're interested in any of that, take a look. Follow her. Tell her that I said hello. But yeah, I love May, guys. My birthday is actually in May. If you've been watching for a while, you probably picked up that I am a Taurus, and my birthday is in May. I always really love this time of year. When I was younger, growing up, it was kind of a gross time of year. I didn't enjoy it as much. It was cold. I grew up in a very in a cooler climate, but now that I'm here, it's just a beautiful time. So hopefully for you, you're beginning to see the beginnings of spring if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're in the Southern Hemisphere, how exciting for you getting to move into kind of the autumn. That's always, gosh, that's my favorite time of year. Well, spring and autumn. I just like those those liminal seasons. That's what I like. All right, so I have actually 3 different flowers, I guess we could say, that I pulled from my yard. So what I want you to do in just a quick minute is I'm going to show you these 3 flowers, and I would like for you to go ahead and decide which one is speaking to you. So hopefully you've tapped into your intuition. You're feeling kind of that, fuzzy sort of heady, feeling in your head. So take a deep breath in. All right. So first I have some Vinca. I have this all over my yard. I have a mystery flower that comes off of this bush that blooms just in the early spring. These pretty tiny white flowers that are going to fall all over the place. And then I have this also coming off of a bush, an azalea bush. I have these pretty kind of fuchsia colored flowers. So I have the Vinca vine, the, white flowers, and the azalea. So take a deep breath in and decide which one of these is speaking to you today. If you chose the Vinca, we are going to move ahead with that group first, so just stick around. If you chose the white flowers or the azalea, go ahead and look for the timestamp and skip to that, and I'll see you there for your reading. Okay, so if you chose the Vinca vine or the periwinkle, then this is your reading. So I'm using the Illustrated Herbiary deck, guys. I just thought it was really appropriate for this time of year. And we get Valerian. All right, so Valerian's all about this concept of, it says releasing rigidity, but it's specifically about that idea of kind of easing up on yourself. You know, what sort of rigid thinking do you have? What types of things do you have, you know, so rigid or so unmoving in your own life that you're unwilling to be flexible or think about other ways to kind of view or look at things. And, you know, she's got this cat on here, and you can actually see that the valerian's coming out of the cat's tail. And it's this idea of, you know, being willing to take a break sometimes, just go a bit easier on yourself. So that's definitely something to kind of consider, guys. So keep that in mind as we're moving into this reading. So guys, I have 3 decks here if you've never done a reading with me before. So what I'm going to do is we are going to go ahead and have a tarot reading that involves 3 different decks. And then at the end, actually, we're going to take a look at this Earth Power Oracle and get you one last bit of guidance. So first thing I want to do, guys, is take a look at some of the internal, you know, energies that will be flowing around you in the month of May. Some of those external energies that will be kind of pushing upon you. I want to look at this idea of things blooming this month. So what type of bloom have you had in the past that's kind of beginning to fade away, something that perhaps is disappearing, right? And then let's take a look at April, actually. Looking into this month, what type of energies from April are actually continuing to have an impact on you in May, something that you might need to be aware of. So let's just take a look here and let's see what we get. All right. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay, good month. Oh, and I love the Queen of Pentacles showing up. And this, by the way, guys, is the Tarot of the New Vision. So if you're aware of some of the imagery from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, you're going to see that some of this is different, right? It looks like it's coming from a different side. So this, right off the bat, guys, looks like a really great month. May, I love the Queen of Pentacles. To me, the Queen of Pentacles is very Taurus. And we're, you know, right in the middle of Taurus season, or at the beginning of Taurus season right now. And Taurus and the Queen of Pentacles is such a nurturing energy. And so combined with the Ace of Swords, I just see a lot of really strong, positive, successful type of energy that you have internally, and you just being supported by people around you and those just the environment in general. I mean, these are 2 just not microscopically specific cards, but definitely cards that deal with this concept of this bigger energy moving around. But 2 great cards just right off the bat. I want to look and see kind of what was coming from April for you. Okay, so coming out of April, 10 of Wands. Many of you coming out of April, and the interesting thing here, guys, oftentimes, so you're moving from kind of this 10 to this 1, and what oftentimes happens, if you look at this guy, he's got all these 10 wands. If he folds them up and, you know, and holds them in one bundle, basically it's a 1. 10s roll into 1s. It's all cyclical. So it's interesting because we're seeing one cycle kind of move into another cycle. And I'm seeing many of you, I think for many of you, what you're going to see is that a lot of the hard work that you had that culminated in April is really going to start to pay off or lead to brand new things, lead to brand new ideas, lead to new successes in May. So that is just fantastic. All right, moving away. What is something that had kind of bloomed in the past and is sort of moving away? I am very happy that this is in the past for you. 9 of Swords is a tough card. You can even see here, I always thought about this as being kind of the nightmare card, you know, and you can see definitely, it certainly looks like that, you know, in many ways. So for many of you, I'm seeing, you know, potentially a lot of, actually, I'm getting 2 different things here. So for some of you, you know, we're just talking about a general anxiety that over a particular situation that probably popped up in the past, but is beginning to fade away. And what I'm seeing for a lot of you here specifically is going to be things along those ideas, communication with friends, anything dealing with kind of emails or sort of social media type stuff. So some of that's coming through real strong. For some of you, the thing that's kind of has bloomed and sort of faded away had more to do with ideas that you had actually in the workplace, things that you were using to sort of overcome issues or ideas that were really weighing down on you. And those whatever you had, those times have come, they've passed. It's time to move past those things and time to move on to something else. So those are kind of two different messages I'm getting for that one. And so kind of take the one that you think makes the most sense for you. All right. So now I want to go ahead and take a look at what your biggest opportunity is this month. I want to look at kind of the thing that's going to bloom for you this month. I love that idea. And then, of course, we're going to pick the card for, what we'll think about May in general as we kind of move into that. Let me kind of scooch this a little bit. All right. Okay, so your biggest opportunity this month. Let's see what we get. And look at this, guys. Same card. Wow. Okay. What you need to really pay attention to some of those lightning rod type moments that you have this month. Those things, those ideas that pop in your head like out of the blue and just hit you, and you just, when you get them, you're like, this is an amazing idea. This is a great thing. I need to do this thing. Keep that in mind. That is something that for you, that's your greatest opportunity this month. Some of those brand new ideas that will just hit you out of the blue. If you've ever had those things where it wakes you in the middle of the night, or you just sit bolt upright and just something pops in your head, that's what you need to look for. This is great. This is such a positive card, guys, when I see that. So that is absolutely fantastic. By the way, this is the Antique Anatomy deck, guys. I chose it because of all the flowers in it, I have to be honest. Okay, so now we have the Knight of Coins. This idea of something that can bloom moving ahead. When the Knight of Coins is upright, there can be sometimes this idea of, sort of being stagnant. I'm going back to this Valerian, actually, this idea of being so rigid in your thinking that you're unwilling to move. But I'm seeing kind of a move and a shift away from that. So I think your biggest opportunity to bloom this month, the thing that can bloom for you, is this willingness to kind of break the mold and see how you can look at things from a different angle, compromise perhaps, even if it's just with yourself, and see about moving yourself forward. So that's excellent. I like the idea of kind of breaking the mold and moving ahead. All right, so at this point, guys, I need you to consider the 5 people that either top come to mind, or the 5 people that you spend the most time with, in any given month, because we're going to be taking a look at those. So while I'm shuffling, take a little bit of time to consider those people. We are also going to look at some of the energies that you need to push away from you and the energies to pull towards you. Okay. All right, so let's start first with some of those energies that we want to push away from us and the energies that we want to pull towards us. So this is interesting because the energy that we want to push away from us actually, okay, guys, I'm seeing a lot of the same energies coming through with this. This card right here, actually pulling this idea, this concept of this, this green mother here, has a very similar feel to the Queen of Pentacles that we're seeing here. So, all right, and let's unpack this. And the Ten of Spells is actually going to be the same as this. So this is really interesting. This is a lot of fun. All right. So the energy that you need to push away from you, first of all, whatever happened in April to get you where you are to today, you need to be aware that that got you here, but that is not going to sustain you. It's time for new ideas. It's time for fresh thoughts. It's time for the next step. Okay, so don't just ride your success or just continue to think that whatever you did back a month ago or whatever is going to sustain you. It's time for new things, time for new thought processes. The thing that you need to pull towards you, oftentimes, guys, when I see this card, but I see it reversed, what it's saying to me for a lot of you out there is that you need to be, in a weird way, a bit more selfish. Some of you, and this isn't everyone, but some of you, this is going to mean that, maybe you just don't do a great job with self-care or paying attention to listening to your body or doing what you need for yourself. Some of you have that tendency to be a bit of a martyr. Once again, not everyone, but some of you guys know who I'm talking about. This card is telling you that this month is going to be important for you to focus on yourself and, not always shove yourself aside. Okay, nurture yourself. This is a very nurturing time of year. I find it really interesting, guys, that we're seeing so many of the same themes coming through. All right, when you look back on this month, and let's kind of see here before we flip this. I mean, honestly, guys, oh, I almost forgot this one. Okay, let's take a look at this first. So do you have those 5 people in mind? I want to see kind of how those people are going to impact you. Oh, 2 of visions. This is great. Everything around you is so supportive this month, guys. Those 5 people that you have, that you had in your head, are actually going to be really helpful for you this month. They're going to be very supportive for you. Whatever ideas that you have in your head, they are going to be there to really help you out. So, I mean, what I'm seeing here, guys, is we've got fantastic energy in May for you. We've got a real nurturing environment here in so many ways. And this idea for you to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, that you're being a little bit more selfish, which just means focusing on yourself some, right? Whatever success you had in April, great. We're not going to dismiss that, but we're also not going to just let that ride. There's a lot of new ideas and great new ideas moving ahead. Also want to make sure that we are thinking outside the box and not getting stuck in old practices. All right, so when we look back on this month, when you look back on this month in the future, some of you, now I'm going to say this as a bit of a warning because this is such a nice reading up to this point where it makes me wonder, okay, what's going to happen in this month? So when I tell you, hey, these are some great things that are going to happen, I will tell you that this card and this card and this card, a lot of these things can be very lazy attitudes. And for some of you, this month you will end up not laying the groundwork for where you need to be. Anytime I see this card reversed, I want to try to figure out how to make it upright. So for many of you, you just need to make sure that during this month you're doing what you need to do to lay the groundwork for the months ahead. Okay, because you might end up getting out a few months from now and feel like you're hitting some sort of raw deal. Like, oh, I didn't make the most of May as I could have. Maybe you're not seizing these opportunities. Not sure. Okay, so everything's really positive until we get to that card, which tells me some of you are just simply not going to seize the energies that are here for you. So keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pull a card from the Earth Oracle deck, but we're going to do that at the end. So go ahead and skip to that chapter and I will see you there. Okay, if you chose these beautiful white flowers, the mystery flowers, I'm not sure what they are, then this reading is for you. All right, and let's see what we get here. Oh, and we get the rose card. This is such a beautiful card, guys. It says at the top, crack open, but the thing about this card and the thing about roses in general is that it's this really kind of weird dichotomy, right? You've got this beautiful rose, and then at the same time, this flower, at the same time you have these prickly thorns. So this card is a lot about being vulnerable, while at the same time, maintaining your defenses, you know, being willing to be both beautiful and dangerous, if that makes sense. This card talks about, you know, looking for the both slash and situations rather than saying like, oh, it's got to be A or it has to be B. Well, sometimes it can be both. So that is sort of the overarching theme, just in general behind your reading. So keep that in mind as we're moving ahead. So that is fun, just starting off the bat. All right, guys. So if you have never done one of my readings before, just a bit of an understanding of how this works, we're going to start with the tarot reading. I have 3 different decks that we're going to work with, and we'll go ahead and work our way through that. And then when we get to the end, we have one final reading that we will do there. So we are going to start out, guys, by taking a look at the month of May and just the general energies that are going to be internally inside of you, the type of energies that you have sort of flowing around you. We're looking at things that bloom. So I want to look at a bloom that's maybe passing away, right? Something that's fading, a bloom that's fading. And let's take a look at the month of April as well and sort of see, you know, what energies in April are still impacting you today. So that's what we're going to take a look at. Let's see. I'm using the Tarot, the New Vision, guys. So some of you, if you're really big into tarot, might recognize some of these. So this is a very interesting, I love this, guys, because right off the bat, I really like it when we get a card that kind of supports this overall theme. Okay, so I told you in the beginning that it's important to sometimes be both vulnerable and, you know, on the defensive, you know, be dangerous and beautiful at the same time. And when I see the Hierophant reversed, a lot of times to me, that's about that idea of bucking the system or changing things up or just looking at things differently, being willing to kind of walk a different way than you have traditionally walked. And I think that's fantastic. Just the environment around you. Look, more flowers. That's so fun. Okay, well, I think your little, oh no, these are all stars. I was going to say, I think your flowers are here, but not quite, but they are white. So the environment around you, guys, the 6 of chalices is such a giving and supportive environment. So whatever you're tackling this month, especially around this idea of kind of looking at something new and different or changing the way you're looking at things are going to be really supportive. So April for many of you was a bit of a rush, actually. A lot of things moving ahead, even to the point where maybe it was too much. For many of you, you know, this may not have been physical activity. For some of you, it could have been things like thoughts, communications, that type of stuff, because oftentimes the swords tends to deal with that. But a lot of hecticness, if that's a word, I'm going to say that it is, coming out of April, sort of impacting where you are now. So some of these new thoughts or different thoughts could very well be leading into this activity, could be leading into kind of where you are now with needing to sort of flip things on their head, so to speak. Now, looking at things that are beginning to fade. All right, so the Chariot is such a great card, guys, because it's this concept of being in control, you know, knowing exactly where you're going, heading in the right direction. If this is something that's fading away, for some of you, it could mean, I'm seeing for some of you actually a loss of control in an area of your life where you probably don't want to end up losing control. So take a close look at your life and kind of figure out, hey, do I really have the reins, so to speak, on everything? For some of you, actually, what I'm seeing is, you know, something like a project or a person that you may have mentored in the past or kind of led in the past that is beginning to, you know, now that they're sort of coming into their own and they no longer need you. And so they are going to actually exit your life, but it's not necessarily sad. It's just something that is like the natural order of things. So I'm definitely seeing 2 things there for you. Whichever one seems to speak the most towards you, go ahead and choose that one. Okay, so we're going to look at the number 1 opportunity for you this month. We're also going to look at something that might actually be coming into bloom for you. All right, and the Antique Anatomy deck, guys, I chose this just because of the beautiful imagery on it. All right, so number 1 opportunity for you this month. We have the King of Blades. So talk about control. This is interesting because this is something that's coming and this is something that's actually fading away. But often, they both have this idea of power and control behind them in a good way. Okay. So this card oftentimes is this idea of sometimes control just for control's sake, or, making some of the big, bold moves, at whatever cost. This card, this idea of having, what is your number one opportunity this month, I think has to do with stepping into a wisdom on your side. Really understanding something fully and totally this month, especially dealing with anything. The realm of the Blades suit deals a lot with thoughts, concepts, ideas, things in the head, so to speak. But this is a card about understanding that and controlling it and being in control of your thoughts and ideas. So if you have some big project in your head that you've been sort of rolling around, this could be a good time for that really to sort of not come to fruition, but the idea be there. Anything at all kind of dealing with that idea of having some sort of, larger plan sort of start to gel this month, at least in your head. So I would say that is your biggest opportunity this month. So sit down, in fact, look at things in a different light, flip it on its head, right? And see what you can find. All right, moving ahead to things that could bloom for you this month. Perfect. Okay, going right on the tails of this. The Three of Rods, guys, is all about this idea of having something moving forward, and you're kind of waiting for it to come through, but things are looking good. Okay, typically, if you have this energy in your life, it's because you've laid a really solid foundation. So I would say for most of you, if you're kind of taking the advice of making sure that you're letting things go as appropriate, as they serve their course, releasing things. Some of you might need to, take a look if you're one that thinks, oh, I might be losing control over something. But if you are one who is sort of keeping an idea on what you need to keep control on, or releasing that, and then, taking a good solid look at some of the projects or ideas that you really need to gel. If you do that, you're going to be allowing something to come into your life that is going to progress out later. Oh, wow. Sorry, guys. You can tell I've been in the yard. I have scratches and stuff all over me. Okay. We're going to save this card until a little bit later, but right now I want you to go ahead and get in your head the 5 people that you're closest to, or that you anticipate spending the most time with in the month of May. And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to go ahead and shuffle here. We're also going to look at some of the energy that you need to push away from you, some of the energy that you need to pull towards you. Going to throw cards all over the place. All right. So taking a look at the energy that you need to push away and what you need to pull towards you. Guys, this is crazy. I love it when this happens. This is the same darn card, just in 2 different decks. Okay. So, wow. All right. So what you need to push away from you, first of all. So we have the 10 of challenges here. I mean, look at this guy. He's just given up. It's pretty sad. Okay. So what you need to push away from you versus what you need to pull towards you. Okay. So we have this guy who's just absolutely just looks dejected. And then we have this guy who definitely very thoughtful. He looks very wise. So pull towards you. And I'm going to hold this card too, because everything that I said about this opportunity, you need to pull this towards you this month. This is something that's huge. It wouldn't come up twice otherwise. So the opportunity really to use your understanding, your thought, your wisdom, put it towards something that needs thought, thinking, working through mentally. That is what you need to focus on this month. The 10 of challenges, guys, is oftentimes, it can mean many different things, but oftentimes it's this idea of just, giving up or having this level of defeat where you just can't move past it. So the thing that you need to push away from you is mulling over what could have been, mulling over like, oh, I almost had it, but then I didn't. It doesn't matter. We're moving on. We're moving ahead. Okay. You need to get away from this energy and towards this, because you can't have both. Okay. Those 5 people that you are thinking of, they are actually going to help kind of pull you out of the mud if you start getting too much in your head, which sometimes can happen, with these very, logical thinking cards, some of these swords cards here. If you are too much in your head, or you start getting maybe overly depressed or kind of stuck on some of this energy that you feel like maybe you're losing control with, they are going to be there actually really to help you out and to pull you out of that sort of funk if you get into it, which is great. That's also kind of showing here. So I'm definitely seeing supportiveness from those people around you. So before we flip this card, I mean, if we look at this, guys, we've got basically, a really busy April moving into what could be a really productive May in regards to just laying plans. I'm seeing May as a time period for you to make plans, to get those, really get them laid out and gelled before you start moving ahead. Really supportive time period for you to be able to do that in. It is saying, make sure that you're beautiful but dangerous at the same time. I love that. Okay, what a beautiful, beautiful card. When you look back on this, guys, in the future, when you look back on the month of May, this has the opportunity to be just a great month for you, a beautiful month where you feel like kind of everything's sort of gelling together. You've got, your family and your friends, or your chosen family and your friends around you. You feel like you're being emotionally supported. You feel like things are just clicking. I mean, this has the opportunity to be a really fantastic month if you are taking control of some of these things and just heeding some of the little warnings that are in here. Now, the last piece is going to be from the Earth Power Oracle. I'm going to go ahead and pull one card there to leave you with some final advice, but that's going to be at the end of the video. So go ahead and skip to that, and I will see you there. Okay, if you chose the Azalea, then this is your reading. And I never saw azalea bushes before I moved to Virginia. They just did not grow where I was. So if you do not have them, it's a very common spring blooming bush that comes out in many different colors. And we've got dozens of them in our yard. So absolutely beautiful. It is definitely a sign of spring for me. So let's see what we have for you. We have the Illustrated Herbiary deck, and the card that we get is Marshmallow. That's so much fun. What this card is saying, guys, is that you need to take time to basically taste the sweet things in life. For some of you, you have some things that are sort of like rough edges, like sandpapery rubbing on you. And it says a spoonful of sugar. It makes me think of that Mary Poppins song. Anything that is difficult to handle can be lightened a little bit if you're willing to take it with a bit of sweetness. So think about that throughout the month of May as you're moving through things, because that's the first message that I'm seeing coming from that. So if you have not been here before for one of my month ahead reading, guys, what we do is have an initial tarot reading with 3 different decks that I have here. And then towards the end, we have one final reading with an oracle deck. So we're going to take a look here, guys, first at some internal energies that you have sort of flowing in you, and then external energies flowing around you. We're going to look at some of the energies that maybe are dying away, like a bloom that is dying, that is passing away from your life. And then also looking at some of the energies from April, actually, that are still impacting you even at this point. So let us see what we get. All right, so let's start first looking at some of these energies that we have. Okay, so this month, the month of May, you are going to get in the month of May exactly what you deserve. I say that, and some of you right now are nervous because you know that maybe what you deserve is not, maybe not what you would hope to see. The Judgment card is about kind of cycles in life, and it's about this idea of sort of ascending or kind of like graduating to something new. So it's going to come back around that, you know, whatever you deserve, that is exactly what you are going to step into. For some of you, the energy around you this month is not overly, it's not overly supportive. And for many of you, you might feel like everything that you want, the world is fighting you on. Okay. So Judgment is actually a really good card. This particular card is a great card. So if this is your internal energy and you're fighting against a world that seems to be pushing against you in every move, then that would make sense why you have this marshmallow card here. But I would say, you know, just right off the bat, think about, you know, leaning more upon your internal self this month than looking for other people. We actually have the Seven of Pentacles, excuse me, in April. So what this says to me, guys, is that you know, we're actually having something where in April, you had something that you were waiting on. That thing resolved, either it resolved or for some of you, you just said, screw it. And you kind of walked away from it. Something really disappointing though. For most of you, I'm feeling this really disappointing energy coming out of April where you're just feeling like, oh, you know, this thing I was hoping for and it didn't actually work out the way that I wanted. And now that same sort of external energy is kind of weighing on you this month. That in itself is tough. Once again, we're talking about external stuff. This card is actually pretty good. So let's see what is sort of moving. Okay, so many of you are dealing, guys, with a lot of change, a lot of transition. So when we look at the Death card, but in the past, in this concept of this idea of a bloom that's actually fading away, how appropriate, right, with the Death card. What this is telling me is that many of you guys are actually on the tail end of a change or a transition for many of you. Oh my gosh, there's a little ant here. Can you guys see that? I don't know where he came from. Who am I kidding? He came from these flowers because I cut them in my lawn, but there's like 2 little ants running around. So if you see them, pay no mind. But for many of you, you're dealing with kind of the tail end of a transitionary period that is, for many of you, it's still rocking you, and it is impacting kind of the way that you live your daily life. However, that thing is beginning to fade away. That transition is having less and less impact on you, and that's important to know and important to understand. Because if this is something that was a difficult transition, understand that its hold on you is beginning to loosen. All right, so let's take a look at your number 1 opportunity for the month of May. Let's look at something new that's going to bloom in your life. And then, of course, we're going to look at the long-term sort of look-back situation. Oh my gosh, I wonder how many ants I actually brought in. Can we just not pretend? We'll just pretend that it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal, I guess. What can they do? They can't hurt me. Interesting. All right, so all right, guys. Okay, so for some of you, the number 1 thing that you can do for yourselves this month, the number 1 opportunity for many of you is just accept defeat. I know that sounds weird, but for some of you, there comes a point when you just fight something long enough that it doesn't make sense to do so anymore. And in fact, it could really be hurting you. So some of you just need to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm walking away. I'm done. So one of the number 1 opportunities for you this month is actually saying, forget it. I'm fine. I don't need whatever this thing is anymore in my life. I'm going to accept the fact that I'm done. You know, I'm toast. And that's that. I have one of you at least who is going to benefit from someone else's misfortune. There's a German word for that. I can't remember. If you know what it is, let me know. There's a German word for taking happiness in someone else's defeat. I wish I could remember what it was. If you know, put it down below because I can't remember right now. All right. The idea of something new kind of blooming and coming into your life. Wow. Look at the flowers just coming out of the top of this skull. I love this deck. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So the thing that's going to bloom for you. So some of you guys are going to really be coming into, I'm seeing the start for many of you of kind of a new understanding of the way that your own head works. For many of you, it's more about an intuitiveness. It's an understanding about how you kind of work internally. But this month is not the month for that really to come fully into fruition. It's really more of a very early start. So think of it like if we're talking flowers and blooms, we're talking about a tighter bud, not an actual fully, out flower. Okay. So start to look for some of those things. I mean, if you are focusing on things like, meditation, it would be a great time to kind of start that type of stuff. Anything to do with your intuition or just self-reflection is going to be huge for you this month. I think it's really going to lay the groundwork for you. All right, now we're going to wait until the end to take a look at that last card right there. What I need you to do right now is think about your 5 people that you actually have closest to you or that you feel you'll spend the most time with in the month of May. So consider those 5 people. So the 5 people that come to your mind. Okay, and then we're also going to take a look at the energies for you to pull towards you and the energies for you to push away. All right, and let's see what we get. All right, so pushing away, pulling towards you, very interesting. All right, guys, so we have 2 9s, and 9s actually in so many ways can be, really positive cards. And for the most part, these can be good, positive cards. In fact, this card right here is one of the cards that led me to want to purchase this deck because I just absolutely love this card. This is telling me for you this month is less about being super active and more about being incredibly receptive to what the world has around you. So if you've laid the groundwork for projects or anything leading up to this month, this is not the month to continue to push. This is the month for you to sort of allow things to ride and gestate and see what comes out of those things. Okay. Once again, this idea of accepting defeat when you need to, allowing change to happen as it needs to come. Okay. Taking a look at those 5 people. Hopefully you have those in your head. Oh gosh, talk about super supportive people. This is a card all about gaining support and having support from those people around you. And if I could get it to focus, that would be awesome. There we go. But that's what this is. I mean, if you want people to support you as you are trying to kind of ascend into something better, I mean, this card is all about like stepping up or stepping into something new or whatever, like I said, whatever you deserve, whatever's kind of coming your way, whatever's the next best step for you, that is what we're seeing here. But there has to be some willingness to change and to accept it, that things haven't always worked out the best way for you. All these people that you've been thinking about, the majority of them are really going to be helpful for you. They're going to be very supportive for you. So when we look at the month in general, guys, it's just that idea of, accepting more nurturing into your life, not being so busy, not being so pushy with things, allowing things to flow, focusing on things like your intuition, or like, anything to do with sort of kind of like mental self-reflection. That's the stuff that we want to go ahead and take a look at. So when you look back on the month of May, we have the Page of Blades, but it's reversed. So what this tells me for many of you during this month, keep an eye out because when I see the Page of Blades, but I see it reversed, it tells me that there could actually be some things some opportunities actually that you might miss. They're little things, little tiny things that could actually be coming your way that you're missing. And when you look back at the month, in a few months, you might say like, oh God, I missed that thing in May. I should have paid attention to that. So what that tells me is that if everything kind of goes this way, some of those things might pass you up. That's not always a bad thing, but from what I'm seeing here is that for many of you, it would be great if you could flip this upright. So forewarned is forearmed. So I would say, if you have this in a tarot journal, go back to that, every week or so this month of May and just say, hey, is there any messages out there that I've seen and that I've missed that I need to pay more attention to? Okay. All right. So moving on to the last card, we're going to take a look at the Earth Power Oracle deck. So let me clear the table and we'll get right to that. So one last bit of guidance for you guys out of the Earth Power Oracle deck. As I am shuffling, I would love to hear which item you chose today and if it resonated with you. So go ahead down below and just leave me a comment, let me know, and give a like if you would. It definitely helps the channel out. So whatever this card is for you guys, just sort of fold it into the rest of the reading that you just received. For most of you, most of what I had was really positive. May looks like it's going to actually be a pretty good month in general. I think every stack had some sort of warning, so hopefully if you're using your tarot journal, you can keep that type of stuff in mind and you are able to just kind of veer around some of those things. But let's take a look here. I love this deck. It always has a few great a few different phrases that I think are absolutely wonderful. So we have Magdalena Bay, Baja. All right, so the phrases here, and choose one perhaps that you think is a great fit for you, and go ahead and just keep that in mind throughout the month. So Magdalena Bay says, I birth new concepts and ideas easily. I am full of flowfulness in every part of my life. Grace permeates my being. So I birth new concepts and ideas easily. I am full of flowfulness in every part of my life, and grace permeates my being. And that's it for today's reading, guys. Like I said, if it resonated with you, please hit the thumbs up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can be here for next month's reading. I loved having you here. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.